I humbly stand here before you, opening Taizé, knowing that we are wrapped in the arms of God. Pray with me now, and let my words speak for you. I envision this service and all present here and online, wrapped in love, wrapped in joy, wrapped in life, and in peace. Knowing each one of us is a divine expression, an individualized divine expression of the one source, purposefully made, intentionally made in the image and likeness of itself. We are one. We come together to deepen that connection to the presence within. We breathe that presence in and let it fill us. Our minds are open. Our hearts are open to receive love, joy, peace, and harmony. Our ears are open to listen to the inspired messages of Reverend Diana today about how to deepen our connection, how to deepen our love, and what the desert has to offer us in understanding our connection, living life more fully, living life more peacefully, and expressing love and God's Spirit, for we are the hands, the feet, and the heart of God. I release this prayer knowing that it is answered as it is spoken. For what is in the mind of God is made manifest in the lives of each one of us here on earth. I give thanks, and together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. What a beautiful prayer. What a beautiful opening. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
If you're new with us here online this morning, my name is Diana Johnson, and I'm the pastor and spiritual director here at Mystic Heart. We're an independent interfaith community that teaches universal principles and practical spirituality. We welcome you to join us in exploring the guidance and wisdom of your own mystic heart. And so we begin our Taizé this morning with musical prayer.
Whatever came before, let your
So I settle into stillness, allowing myself to feel grounded and firmly planted. In this moment, I am stillness. Aware of the breath. Allowing it to ground me. Fully present in the here and now. Feeling the presence of the one life moving through and all around me. Sensing and knowing that I am an expression of that life. Intentionally made, here by design, on purpose. One strand in the vast web of consciousness that surrounds and infuses the planet. An expression of spirit, connected to everything and everyone. I am a radiant point of light in the web of consciousness, shining forth as no one else can. Trusting and knowing that every human being, every animal, every plant and microbe are infused and filled and shining with light. And by that light we are all connected. Every rock and grain of sand, every drop of water, part of the sacred whole. Each and every part of the all that is. A thread in the tapestry that is creation. All necessary, all divine, all a part of the one light, the one life, the one source. As I sense my connection with life itself, I am empowered. As we gather together in communion and in community, we are empowered. Our work here is potent. It is needed. Our collective prayer and meditation leave an imprint of peace, harmony, and grace on the world. We're contributing to the conscious evolution of humanity, the conscious evolution of the planet, and all that lies beyond. By the presence of God within, we are that powerful, and so we use that power wisely. This month we're reflecting on what wild wisdom has to offer us. We've gone into the wild wood. We've taken a mountain view. And this morning we'll be delving into the desert soul. Metaphorically, the desert is a place of testing and transformation. It is a place of loosening the stronghold of ego, of preparation for the next phase of life. It is often called a wilderness, a vast and seemingly endless landscape that invites us to learn trust, to have faith in ourselves, in other people, and in the world. Because the desert can be such a difficult and threatening terrain, it often represents emptiness, loneliness, and isolation. Going into the desert can symbolize the periods of time when we are challenged, when we feel lost, when we face barriers or obstacles. And simultaneously, going into the desert has come to represent the journey of self-reflection, revelation, and clarity. Freedom from distraction, a state of intense focus. In the desert experience, the dreams, goals, and visions of the false self can be seen clearly, sometimes for the first time. The desert inspires us to sense and know the emptiness of the world and the fullness of God. The desert, with its seemingly infinite horizon, its beautiful sunrise and spectacular sunset, teaches us the lesson of rising and falling. That this is the way of things. In every life there are ups and downs, times of joy and times of sadness, easy times and challenging times. And it teaches us that every fall offers us the opportunity to rise again. The desert has been a place of spiritual reflection and growth for many people, including the desert fathers and mothers of the 4th and 5th centuries. In the desert, they found the solitude needed to confront their own demons, purging themselves of habits and patterns of thought and behavior that no longer served them. Each one came to understand his own character in deep and profound ways, to trust herself and deepen her faith in the Creator. The desert fathers and mothers were marked by inner peace, self-control, patience, humility, and hospitality. They recognized the importance of doing our own psychological and spiritual work before offering guidance to others. In the 4th century CE, Egyptian desert mother Amma Sincletica offers this wisdom. It is dangerous for anyone to teach spiritual matters who has not first been trained in the practical life. If someone who owns a ruined house receives guests there, that person may do the visitors harm because of the rundown condition of the dwelling. It's the same in the case of someone who has not first built an interior dwelling, connecting their inner and outer life. That person causes loss to those who come. By words, you might convert them to the right way, but by behavior, you injure them. Likewise, just as it's impossible to be both plant and seed at the same moment, so it's impossible to be surrounded by worldly honor and at the same time bear heavenly fruit.
The word desert has the same root word as the verb to desert. To desert someone is to forsake or abandon them. So when we go into the desert spiritually, what is it that we abandon? What are we turning our backs on? Usually we are forsaking the busyness of the world, or perhaps abandoning our ego-oriented lifestyle to find our deeper self. The desert Ammas and Abbas of old fled the Roman Empire for a monastic lifestyle, creating intentional communities to keep their Christianity pure. Through silence, humility, surrender, solitude, and contemplation, they shifted their gaze inward, confronting everything within them that hindered their experience of divine unity. The Vision Quest was a rite of passage for many indigenous young adults in North America. In the Southwest, the Vision Quest often meant going into the desert alone, praying and fasting in isolation, inviting the spirit world to reveal a vision for their life, to gain guidance and understanding about their life purpose and their role in their greater community. The Christian scriptures tell us that right after Yeshua of Nazareth was baptized, he went into the desert where he prayed and fasted. The Satan he wrestled with was his own egoic temptation to break his fast, to gain worldly power, and for his own glory. Yeshua entered the desert to purify himself before beginning his ministry. In our 3 minutes of shared silent meditation this morning, let us enter the desert experience. Let us explore our inner environment honestly and intimately. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, to gently but firmly seek the deepest truth of your being, to identify anything and everything that dims your divine light, and invite it out of your consciousness. It never really belonged to you. This kind of truth-seeking can be disruptive, so go slowly, gently, and love yourself into a new way of being. O Holy One, Great Spirit, thank you for this blessed time of sacred communion and contemplation. In gratitude, we accept the wisdom you have granted us. Thank you for your presence in this place and within the hearts of each one here worshiping with me. May we never forget who and whose we are. Going into the desert spiritually is essential to our evolution, but by itself it is not enough. When we find what we went there seeking, we must bring it back. Our light is not ours alone. The world needs each one of us to shine as only we can. As Reverend Diana continues her Taizé meditation this morning, we open our hearts, minds, and spirits to gratefully receive her wisdom and to be transformed so that when we go back out into the world, we always take with us our desert soul.
We move our reflection now to the wisdom of the desert fathers and mothers. Let us see if these wise ones might have something to offer us in the modern day. Abbot Pombo questioned Abbot Anthony, saying, "What ought I to do?" And the elder replied, "Have no confidence in your own virtuousness. Do not worry about a thing once it has been done. Control your tongue and your belly." A brother asked one of the elders, "What good thing shall I do and have life thereby?" The old man replied, "God alone knows what is good. Not all works are alike. For Scripture said that Abraham was hospitable and God was with him. Elias loved solitary prayer, and God was with him. And David was humble, and God was with him. Therefore, whatever you see your soul to desire according to God, do that thing, and you shall keep your heart safe." So this is the monk's life. Not to walk in agreement with an unjust man, nor to look with his eyes upon evil, nor to go about being curious, and neither to examine or to listen to the business of others. Not to take anything with his hands, but rather to give to others. Not to be proud in his heart, nor to malign others in his thoughts. Not to fill his stomach, but in all things to behave with discretion. Behold, in all this you have the monk. A monk said, "Cut off from yourself rash confidence. Control your tongue and your belly. And if anyone speak to you about any matter, do not argue with him. If he speaks rightly, say, Yes. If he speaks wrongly, say to him, "You know what you are saying," but do not argue with him about the things he has said. Thus your mind will be at peace. Deep soul wisdom from the desert fathers and mothers. Not only valuable contemplations for monks, but for all of us. Let's close an affirmation of the powerful presence of the One Life. There is always and forever one divine presence, one essence, one substance, one source from which all of creation is born. This one goes by many names: Great Spirit, Holy One, Infinite Presence, Ground of all being, Abba, God. And yet, by whatever name we call it, it is the very presence of life unfolding. I am so grateful to know that each and every one of us is an intentional expression of the divine, perfect in all of our human imperfection, intended to be exactly as we are, even in all of our messiness. Spirit knows no imperfection, knows only beauty, joy, peace, expresses as love and light. And so each of us comes fully equipped with these spiritual qualities, already present and available. Factory equipment. In this holy moment, I look to the teachings of the desert. I allow myself to be transformed by the presence within. I choose to trust the process, to consciously place my faith in divine order and timing. In the moments when I feel empty, lost, or isolated, when I feel challenged or face barriers or obstacles, I remember that the presence is always with me, expressing as me. I can never be alone. Infinite wisdom, the still small voice, is always available. And so I move into quiet reflection. I remember the lesson of rising and falling, that this is the way of things, that every life holds ups and downs, joy and sadness, ease and challenge. And I keep at the forefront of my heart and mind that every fall offers me the opportunity to rise again. In time, wholeness is revealed. Clarity returns. Gradually and with practice, the thoughts and behaviors that do not serve simply melt away. I am at peace. My faith is renewed. I am humbled by the powerful presence of the One. And I am empowered by the knowing that this powerful presence lives in, through, and as me. I am awake to my own divinity.
Clouds are swift, rocks are ancient, mountains are high, oceans gray, winds are restless, trees are patient. You, my child, are away. Waves are crashing, rivers churning, planets twirling, stars ablaze. Storms are raging, atoms whirling. You, my child, are awake to perceive these wondrous things, to count the beats of a blackbird's wings, to tell a story and dance and say. All the splendors of creation, very happy that you came, 'cause they needed someone to see them. You, my child, are away. To perceive these wondrous things, to count the beats of a blackbird's wings, to tell a story and dance and say. Seeds are hopeful, dewdrops fleeting, oak trees crooked, redwoods stray, and they are not known to the sleeping. But you, my child, are awake. You, my child, are awake. You, my child.
I am so grateful for my growing awareness, for my awakening, trusting and knowing the same for each one listening. So grateful for this space to gather with chosen family, and for each one sharing this space this morning. I give thanks for the countless hours of sacred service that is being offered by this community. in the preparation for our new home to come very soon. And for the thousands of tiny, tiny blessings, minuscule blessings and large, that bless our everyday. Thank you, Spirit, for this day and for this amazing life. And in closing our Teze, I know and fully accept the grace unfolding in my own life and in the lives of all here. I trust and know that it is unfolding into form and experience. As a prayer spoken is a prayer answered. And so I release it now to the power and presence of Spirit, simply letting it be. And so it is. Amen. So we gently return our awareness. And as we close our meditation today, we offer the opportunity for you to share of your financial good in support of the work we're doing. If you're joining us online, you can find our donate button or an address at our website, mysticheart.org. And we thank you in advance for every gift that flows in and through this community, from your hearts to ours, received gratefully. And so I acknowledge and give thanks for the infinite abundance of Spirit and offer this beautiful video, The Wisdom of the Desert. And so we say thank you for these gifts as they are offered this morning, trusting and knowing that they grow and multiply and are given back, multiplied many times into our community and into the greater community through our hands and hearts. And so it is. Amen. So we bless you on to your warm drink as you prepare to come back, or on to your Sunday if that's what you're doing, is moving on with your day. And we bless you with the soul's blessing.
May your soul always find what it's looking for. May your heart always lead the way. May you live in peace and harmony. And may love always fill your day. May your path be strewn with happiness. May success find you everywhere. May you always embrace compassion and grace, and may God always answer your prayer. May you always embrace compassion and grace, and may God always answer your prayers.
God bless. Thanks for being here this morning.
We come together. We come together in love. We are wrapped in the arms of God. We are wrapped in love and joy and peace and life. We are filled with this energy that animates our being. We are the hands and hearts of God. We also are the feet. And we come together to have conscious conversation around what the desert has to offer for our spiritual growth and enhancement, to bring more love and peace to ourselves and into the world. I offer this prayer in gratitude, and knowing a prayer spoken is a prayer answered, and I release it into the mind and heart of God, and so it is. Amen.
Good morning. Welcome or welcome back. We shrank even. Maybe they're next door getting our lunch ready. So good to have you here this morning. And if you're new with us online, I am Diana Johnson, pastor of Mystic Heart Spiritual Center, and we're an independent interfaith community. We teach universal principles, practical spirituality, and we attempt to really serve as a pointer for you back into yourself so that you might discover your own guidance and wisdom, because we know that's where your answers lie. So we're going to begin conscious conversation this morning with a little bit of upbeat musical prayer.
Together we are joyfully practicing
is a good idea because it sustains us.
So does feasting.
So does feasting. So let's join in a creative journey this morning, calling upon power of mind, heart, gut, body, engaging all that we are as we join together in the creative process of visioning a love-soaked world. See and feel with me now a world in which all beings live from their highest potential. A world where kindness and generosity and peace and compassion lead the way, where joy and beauty is a point of focus in each and every moment of our day. In this world of our creation, all people honor and respect one another, care for one another, and for all life forms, and for the planet that sustains us. We remember that we're connected to all of life, that we are dependent on the planet to sustain us, and on one another for our sense of belonging, our sense of meaning. By aligning every thought, word, and action with our vision, we're creating a world in which all people are well fed, have the safety and comfort of home, and a deep sense of belonging and purpose. A world in which health, education, and healthy relationships are well supported by systems that are grounded in integrity and wholeness and wellness. Valuing every being for its uniqueness. We practice living truly authentic lives where vulnerability is celebrated. There's no need to defend or protect ourselves. The work we're doing within ourselves shows up as a world free of hatred and violence. We recognize and appreciate the abundance that surrounds us. Greed is a thing of the past. Generosity is the norm. And all beings gratefully receive all that is needed to live physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually fulfilling lives. The planet and its beings thrive like never before, as we recognize the sacred in everyone and everything. We walk in reverence, humility, and gratitude for all that we've been given. We are creating a new world moment by moment, aligning our actions with our vision, living these changes first in our own lives, with our families, with our neighbors, with our communities. And one neighborhood, one community at a time, a new world is being born. In this process of profound change, this beloved community stands as an open and welcoming place for all who seek support, belonging, and a sense of true family. Amen. By the power of our deep faith, the power of our inspired action, this prayer is acted upon, answered even as it is spoken, for Spirit knows our heart's intent, our heart's desire, in full expectation of its graceful unfolding, and with the deepest humility and gratitude. We release our word to the creative power and intelligence that I call God, to the one that gets it done. We say, and so it is. Amen. It's a powerful process to use that imagination to move into the imaginal realm where infinite possibility is always available and where things are being created and changed and shifted by our very intentions, what we place our focus on. So our theme this month is wild wisdom, and the topic for today is desert soul. So far we have been into the wild wood and we've taken a mountain view. Today we're taking a look at desert soul. This morning during Taizé, I reflected on some things that the desert might have to teach us. And there are a lot of places in nature that we might call wilderness, but The desert is the primary metaphor used in the ancient stories and scriptures for wilderness. Metaphorically, it's a place of testing and transformation, of loosening the stronghold of the ego. It's a place of preparation for the next phase of life. It invites us to learn trust, to place our faith, to have faith in ourselves and one another and in the world. We said that it's a harsh and threatening terrain that often represents emptiness and loneliness and isolation. That going into the desert can symbolize the periods of time where we are deeply challenged, when we feel lost, when we face barriers or obstacles. So going into the desert has also come, though, to represent the journey of self-reflection and revelation and clarity. There is a small game on my desk that got left at my house, if you want it. Just saying. Okay, so going into the desert is representative also of freedom from distraction, a state of intense focus, because there's not much to distract in the vast horizons of the desert. Teaches us lessons, we said, of rising and falling. As the beautiful sunrises and the beautiful sunsets are so intense, we are reminded that every life is made of ups and downs, that there are always opportunities to rise again after every fall that we might make. Then we spoke of the desert fathers and mothers of the early Christian tradition and how they found the solitude of the desert to confront their own demons. For them, it was a place of purification, to come to understand their own character, to learn to trust themselves, deepen their faith in Creator. So that's kind of where we went with the desert in Taizé. So I'm going to jump into conversation by looking at some desert examples from the Hebrew and Christian scriptures. First, in the Torah, Noah built an ark, gathered 2 of every creature, and spent 40 days and 40 nights in the ark while the rain fell, flooding the earth. Familiar with that story? I'm guessing you are.
Noah?
Noah built me an ark. Yeah, Bill Cosby, that was great. That was funny. And Moses led the people in the desert for 40 years. There's 40 again, being permitted to enter the promised land. You've heard that one too, I'm sure. In the story of Jonah and the whale, which was really a fish in the story, it was said that the city of Nineveh would be destroyed in 40 days. In the New Testament, Jesus spent 40 days in the desert, wrestling with his temptations after being baptized by John the Baptizer. Here's my first question. What's with all the 40s? What does that mean?
Midlife crisis?
Midlife crisis? Maybe. Mine came a little later than that. Could happen at 40 for some.
Maybe that's a good number because then you get out of your head.
Okay. The number that...
I mean, you do it for 40 days, you're going to get to be a habit or break a
Okay,
habit.
so it's a habit building time period maybe?
Biblically speaking, it represents generational numbers. Time
Okay.
it would take for a generation to disappear so another one could rise.
Okay, so that's one interpretation, is it's generations. 40 years represents a generational turnover. Anything else?
I'll sit by David.
So 40, in addition to generational, refers to as long as it takes. As long as it takes. 40 points toward as long as it takes. So we're going to wander in the desert of our own psychology and our own emotional whatever for as long as it takes for us to have a shift in consciousness. So Noah and all who gathered in the ark were there as long as it took for the flood to be done and the waters to recede so they could get out of the boat. So Jesus went to the desert to wrestle with the demons for as long as it took for him to shift his own consciousness and lift himself out of his ego. So that's what that 40 is pointing to, not just in the Christian and Hebrew scriptures, but in ancient teachings of all kinds. Numerology, it points to the same thing. So, let me see here. Oh, when Moses led the people through the desert for 40 years, sometimes it's interpreted as they were being punished for their bad behavior, right? Because they kept messing up. What if it wasn't a punishment for bad behavior? What if it was an opportunity for deep reflection and a recommitment to the spiritual life? So that they could then flourish. So it doesn't necessarily point toward a negative thing. Time of self-reflection can be a very positive experience, valuable experience. Jesus wrestled with temptation long enough for real transformation to take place in him. It wasn't about the forces of evil trying to tempt him, necessarily. I don't believe that there were outside forces tempting him, even in the story, even if it isn't a true story. It's about his own internal struggle. It's an example for us to look at of one who is struggling internally with the ego, with arrogance, the same kinds of human experiences that tempt all of us. So he stayed with the process in the story long enough to overcome those temptations. So when I say wandering in the wilderness, what comes up for you? If you're having a wandering in the wilderness experience, what does that phrase represent for you?
Well, sometimes wandering in the wilderness can be just my own mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There have been times when that was a scary, wild place to be wandering in.
Uh-huh. Just lost in your own head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lost amongst the monkeys.
Lost amongst the monkeys. It's tough to say.
Probably like 20 years ago when I was a lot braver, sillier, I actually used to do vision quests in the desert, in the high desert area by Palm Springs and Joshua Tree and stuff a lot, on purpose. Not all who wander are lost.
That's true.
And I used to do it on purpose for spiritual clarity or vision or whatever. But let me tell you, there's a big difference between the forest vision quests and the desert. And one of those things is not only the lack of resources, because I would take nothing with me. It's when the forest is stripped away and you're in the desert, how vulnerable you feel. There's nothing that you can hide behind. There's nothing to cover you up. You're just right out in the open, man. And that it really makes you become incredibly present.
Yeah. So this, even metaphorically, this wandering in the desert wilderness is a time and an experience of intense vulnerability. Even if you're not physically doing this vision quest, which was common to many, many traditions, still is to some.
Well, and I think that intense vulnerability was what the Israelites needed. They needed to humble up a little bit, and realize that how exposed they were, and maybe be a little more grateful that they had survived as long as they had.
Yeah.
And that was the change of consciousness that was going to take to get them into the promised land.
Yeah, so sometimes those periods of intense vulnerability help us to humble up. It's true. we can all use a little bit of that from time to time, I think. I can.
I think that maybe they were in the desert 40 years. They might have been in the desert 41 years, but by 40, they finally realized what they needed to let go of.
Yeah, so that number again representing as long as it takes to know what we need to let go of, what we need to shift, what we need to change. Could wandering in the wilderness also represent approaching or moving into a space of infinite opportunity, infinite expansiveness? So it doesn't have to just reflect the difficult things, the challenging things. Could it also represent the openness of that?
To speak to that, it seems to me if you're leaving behind your expectations and your judgments and everything you've relied on, you become more open to other possibilities and ideas and resources. You
Right.
see the abundance because we're limited when we start to just live in our judgments and expectations.
Okay. So even if you're physically moving into the desert, I would imagine, and I haven't done this, but I would imagine that you would suddenly have to look at everything as potential shelter, as potential safety, as potential. You start to look at everything differently than you did when you entered.
Another metaphor for wandering in the wilderness is just not being sure of what you thought you knew. So when and so that opens up that infinite field of possibility. But first you have to get comfortable with not knowing, because we want to nail everything down and know what it's going to do, what it's not going to do, and how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
So it's getting comfortable with not knowing is what opens us up to that greater possibility.
How many love to be in that place of not knowing? Dave?
Yeah, for me, I spent a fair amount of time in the High Sierras when I was deer hunting, and you spend a lot of periods of time when you're really by yourself, and so it forces you to look inside because the mind is always running, so it forces you to look inside, and in a sense, it makes you realize how much you don't know, right? And you're confronted with this. Wherever it is, if it's on the ocean, in the mountains, in the forest, or the desert, or wherever it is, there's teeming life around you. And it inhabits whatever environment you're in. And so that isolation, I think, makes you kind of confront that. Not in a negative sense,
Right.
but in a positive sense. It makes you realize that, there's much more than just what I see.
Yeah.
There's something behind what I see that creates that. And for me, that was very powerful for me. True confession, I'm approaching 80, which is 2 times 40, so I'm getting in spades right now.
As long as it takes.
That's right.
Oh, that's cool. So I want to share a couple. Oh, Barb, I'm sorry. Did you?
Well, I just want to share a
You were
perspective,
stretching.
a personal, physical perspective.
Sure.
But first, I saw Amanda raising her hand over there. Can we?
You go ahead.
Okay. This is just a physical and a personal perspective of an experience I've had recently. And speaking of desert, we drove up north, and when I was younger, you have eyes that don't quite see so clearly, and at certain ages they see very clearly, but then you don't quite see so clearly. And I remember always driving through Weed and Wairika and seeing and just think, oh, the space is so desolate and dry, and why would anyone want to be in this space? I recently have drove through there with new clarity in my sight, and all the physical formations that surround us is our history right there before us. And it is all for us to all observe and see. But it just gave me that insight to the growth and what you were speaking of, the growth inside that manifests outside also.
Completely changes your perspective.
Yes, it does.
All right.
And I would recommend anyone taking that drive with eyes to see and see what is to be seen.
Thank you.
It's very beautiful.
I'm gonna go Amanda and then Kimberly and then I'll move forward.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the desert versus other areas and how you really are gonna see some big shifts like at night. You're gonna see all the stars and it's gonna be just a totally different perspective than being almost any other place. And you might be out in the forest and be able to see the stars, but you have to look up through the trees. And
Yeah.
it's just, I think, like a place of revealing.
Yeah. Place of revealing. And so the vulnerability and the awesome beauty and bigness of it all. Yeah. Thank you.
I lived in weed for 7 years. And I can see what you'd think. Anyway, what I was going to say is we take for granted everything that, and when you're out in the desert and you don't have whatever you have, then you can't take things for granted. That was one thing I wanted to say. And I went on a hike with 2 of my sons in a high desert, but there's mountains, and we walked a long ways. They kept saying, "Gosh, Mom, are you sure you can keep up?" Yes, I can keep up. And then they got to a place where they were going to go really high, and they go, "Mom, you can't go with this because you can't make it," which I could have, but I didn't. So I sat there, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and they were gone, and I remember I felt so vulnerable sitting there, and I went into fear because I was alone in the middle of nowhere. And I went into meditation and felt that peace and was okay with it. So that was my desert at that moment.
Yeah. Can make you feel pretty small.
Oh, I felt like about that big, but then I felt really big, like everything that was not really going to help me was going to see me too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyway.
So I want to read a couple of passages from this. I'm really enjoying this book. I've been reading Wild Wisdom. And I want to share a couple passages, and then with each passage then open it up to what comes from it, whatever comes from it. So the first one is from 4th, 5th, these are all 4th, 5th century Egyptian primarily or Middle Eastern desert fathers and mothers. This one's called How to Lose the Way. Once when Abba John and the brothers who accompanied him were traveling from Skeet to another desert monastery, the young brother who was guiding them became confused and lost the way. Night was falling. They didn't know where they were, but the brother led on. The other brothers whispered to Abba John, "Father, what will we do? This brother has lost the way, and God forbid we could all die wandering around in the desert at night." Abba John replied, "If you say anything to our guide, he will feel guilty and ashamed. Look, I will pretend to be sick and will say that I am not able to go on any further." "Good idea," replied the other brothers, and that's what they did. They stayed where they were until the morning, rather than reproach the brother who was guiding them. Then by the sun, the way was clear again. So what are the lessons or spiritual qualities do you think this desert father was trying to put across? Lucinda?
Compassion.
Okay, compassion.
To let go, to rest, then go fresh again, because then you're not in that,
Okay.
because you've had time enough to,
Yeah. So pause and ground yourself.
yeah.
Give it time and space.
Yeah, patience.
Patience.
Yeah, Lao Tzu talks about that as well. It's like you have to, do you have the patience to sit and wait for the muddy water to clear?
Mm-hmm.
Let the light come in.
Yeah, patience, thank you.
It's also, if you're on the wrong track and you keep moving, you're getting farther and farther off track.
Okay.
So if you're not sure, you're better off stopping and until you have a chance to reassess in the light.
So discernment, patience, and then discernment.
I kept thinking, this is exactly why I don't follow anyone blindly ever. Because who's leading you, who you're putting your trust into, guiding you, that's a big thing, especially for me. I'll find my own way, but someone has to prove to me over a long period of time to gain my trust in order for me to follow them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it just kind of like, for me, it just really spoke to like, I was thinking like, well, why were they following this guy? If he's the guide and he's lost, who made him the guide? Like, what's going on here? But for me, like that's a big thing for me. Like, especially when it comes to like spiritual teachers, or I don't follow anyone. I take and I make my own way. But I'm just thinking about that.
Not even Google Maps.
No, it can be wrong too.
Yeah. Chris?
Maybe it's a metaphor for the guide being our ego, and the monk, the pastor who decided to stop and rest was the internal wisdom, and stopping to listen to that rather than to continue on with the elephant leading the parade.
Okay, so a metaphor for the internal wisdom, stopping and allowing that to guide you.
Well, that's kind of interesting, because you can look at the other, you can look at that from the other side, from the guy that continued on. Maybe that was his role. That was his role, to let you not suffer, but figure out what you needed to do.
Right.
If they just kept following, they just would have kept following. They didn't. They recognized he had a problem, but maybe that was his role. He was there to show you that you have to rely on yourself and you use your own good sense.
Yeah, could have been his role to do that. Do you see, I don't know, I found humility in this story, in those who even made up the story even. I'm sick, let's just stop, but humility to say, rather than,
You're wrong.
you're wrong, yeah, you're lost, dude. I don't have to make him wrong. I don't even have to let him in on what's happening. And to me, that was very compassionate and humble and generous of spirit and kind. So from that perspective, you might take those lessons too.
That was like the line you quoted in Jose and was in the video too. You know what you're saying.
Right, yeah,
know, and you know whether it's true or not.
right. I don't need to argue with you or be right. Don't have to make myself right. So he wasn't completely honest though, right? When he said
That he was sick.
that he was sick. Are there times that being less than completely honest is the most compassionate thing to do?
Not in the long run.
Not ever?
I think it is. There are times. It's knowing when and how to use it and why you're using it.
Okay.
A tool.
It's a tool. So if it's manipulating something, then maybe not. But say someone walks, I'm at the store and someone walks into the store in an outfit that I find horrendous, and my brain goes to, the best thing to do would be to say, God, that's awful, woman. Probably not.
That wouldn't be kind.
I mean, so discernment, and honesty, yes, and integrity, yes. But sometimes the things that come into my head don't have to come out my mouth.
Absolutely.
They just don't.
You can think everything you want, but you don't have to say it.
That's right.
Sure, but it's,
If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything.
There you go.
Quoting Thumper.
Quoting Stumble.
And be honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself.
And,
Yeah.
and that honesty can be, well, maybe I ought not expose
Right.
that, or it may be I really need to say something. So that's a
Yes.
choice. That's a choice point there where you
Right.
you have to use your discernment.
Yeah, again, back to discernment.
And I can't remember the exact words he used, but he says, I'm not feeling well and I can't go on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you got a premonition that you're going the wrong way, and you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, I don't feel well is the truth.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's all about perspective too. Okay, good. Nice. All right, this one's called Falling Asleep. Once some of the old men went to the Abba Poman for advice and asked, if we see our brothers sleeping during communal prayer, should we hit them to wake them up? The Abba replied, if I see my brother sleeping, I place his head on my lap and give him a place to rest. One of the other old men then asked him, and so what do you say to God about this behavior? Abba Poman replied, I say to God, you have said, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will be able to see and take the speck of dust out of the eye of your brother. That sounds familiar from other teachings, huh?
Woo. Mm-hmm. That was a big one.
Yeah. What are the lessons or spiritual qualities that jump out there?
Kindness.
Kindness.
Compassion.
Compassion.
Acceptance.
Acceptance.
Not judging.
Not judging.
Humility.
Humility. So many opportunities for us in humility.
Generosity, and
Gen-
to be in service to other human beings when they need you.
Yeah. Generosity and service to other human beings and other beings in general when they need you.
Maybe clean up your own trip before you try and clean somebody else's up.
Maybe clean up your own trip before trying to point to others, yeah.
That's right. You too, we have these adopted standards of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you should speak, when you shouldn't, if you're being loud, if you shouldn't be loud, if you're singing too loud and everybody can hear that one person and maybe they're not the best, and you know, all those different things that we have placed upon us that we then push out into the world thinking that it's a standard of right behavior, if that even actually exists in reality, and how you can let that go and let everyone just kind of have the experience they need to have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone's asleep, I used to hate guided meditation because every time I try it, I'd fall asleep, right? I'd be the only one in the room snoring. and other people have poked me during guided meditations because I was asleep or you know, whatever. And then finally I had one yoga teacher say to me, if you're falling asleep, it's because that is what your body needs to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares if
Yeah.
everybody else is not happy that you're asleep? Like, that must be what your body needs.
Right.
And to have that space to let
Yeah.
everyone have their own experience and not push our ideas upon them.
Right. Because they're just opinions.
Yeah, they exist in your head and that's it.
That's right. Nobody's opinion is any more valuable or valid than anybody else's opinion. Right? That's hard to own sometimes. Because ours always feels right. So, does it seem easier to see the perceived flaws in other people than it does to see them in ourselves? Sometimes.
Is that a loaded question?
Why do you think, okay, so why do you think that that's so? Why is it so much easier to see it in somebody else?
You don't have to admit it to yourself.
Okay.
Sorry.
Michael?
Because it exists in us and we recognize it in them.
Okay, so it exists somewhere in us, in some form, and we recognize it in them. Dave?
That was well said. I forgot what I was going to say. So.
Okay.
That's 80 years old talking.
Right.
I think it's just the fact of physically seeing it, because you're not seeing yourself
Okay.
unless you're looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's something I think about a lot and do is videotape other people. Look at, and they're saying, well, I never realized that, you know, that's how I came across. Or,
Yeah. So our senses are powerful as human beings, and they convince us of a lot of things. Like, boy, that person's sure not doing that right.
But, yeah, that's, you know, that, another way to look at it is you're looking in the mirror.
You are looking in the mirror.
Right.
That's true.
Because you're projecting out what you need to,
Right.
what you need to see.
What you
If
need to
if you
see.
don't see that, you
Yeah.
can't correct it within yourself.
Right. See?
It's extremely uncomfortable to see
It is.
yourself.
In that other that's doing that thing? Yeah, it
I'm
is.
speaking from some truth right here.
Yeah.
In this experience in my,
It
life
is.
right now. Yeah.
Extremely uncomfortable when you realize that's what's happening, or at least part of what's happening. So are we also, as part of it, that we live in a culture of blame?
Yes, we do.
Is that a big part of our cultural race consciousness? We have a difficult time taking responsibility in this culture of blame. It's just part of what we're steeped in. Do we keep ourselves distracted from self-reflection at times?
No.
Another loaded question.
Can you say ostrich?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm stretching, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay. That's why I missed you last time, because I thought you were stretching. That's okay. Cheryl?
Well, one of the things, like, when people get in a hurry on the road and they cut in front of you and stuff, I'm thinking, you know what? I did the same thing when I was younger.
Yeah.
That's a reflection of me. Hey,
Yeah.
I did the same thing, so no need to start yelling at them.
Right. It's an opportunity for you to recognize how much you have matured.
Yes.
Yeah, we work, and we're still working on it.
And we're still working on it. Lucinda?
Well, I think also judgment comes in there. When you start working on judgment, you start realizing that you're looking at that person and judging them and going, oh my God.
There's those three fingers pointing back again, darn it.
Yeah.
What Cheryl was saying, it gives us the opportunity to express compassion and understanding, because if you can see that you did it yourself, and you can be forgiving of yourself, then that allows you the opportunity to be forgiving of others who are doing
Right.
those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice, thank you. Kimberly?
I was at my daughter-in-law's house, and she was really angry, and she was screaming and yelling and throwing a fit, not at anybody in general, but it was at me, which I was the only person in the room. And I remember thinking that's how I felt as a child. And then all of a sudden I realized, whoa, she's really angry, but there's anger in me too. And it made me be able to look at the whole thing differently.
Yeah.
I started doing ho'onoponopono to her. I started feeling compassion for her, and then that healed me too, to realize she was my mirror.
Right. Good.
A big mirror.
A big mirror.
A giant mirror.
Now, if only we can get that sister handled.
Oh, yeah, I know. I really been, even when we sang that song today, and it was saying brothers and sisters, I went, okay,
Yeah.
I do love my sister. She's wonderful.
Oh,
she's perfect.
She's perfect. She's God.
She's here just for you.
That's right.
I've been saying that a lot. That person's God. That person's God. That's my new mantra. When I see something, that person's God too.
That's right. All right, we're going to wrap up with one last reading, and this is in 2 sections, and it's actually called Prayers of Rabia. So these are short prayers. So if you'd like to kind of settle in to listen with those ears, or whatever ears you want to put on right now. The first one says this. This is Rabia al-Adawiya from the 8th century in Iraq. O God, whatever you have designated as my share of material things, please give this to my enemies. Whatever you have designated as my share in the world to come, please give this to my friends. For me, you alone are enough. Should I repeat that?
Yes.
Yeah.
O God, whatever you have designated as my share of material things, please give this to my enemies. Whatever you have designated as my share in the world to come, please give this to my friends. For me, you alone are enough.
Yeah, it clearly makes me think of we are all one. So giving to someone else is the same as giving to yourself.
Right.
Right. So it's that generosity of your own being that is very important, and it also kind of highlights this is just things that you're giving sometimes.
Right.
Right. It's not necessarily it's the act and the thought behind it, rather than whatever the gift is.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. The thought behind the gift. And yet the willingness to give of our material things is a gift as well. And sometimes it's hard to do, to give up what we have. Dave?
It reminds me of selfless service.
Mm-hmm. Selfless service, yeah. Then we're giving of our time, our talent, our heart. Yeah. Chris?
Often your enemy is somebody that wants what you have anyway, so, and they say the best way to get rid of an enemy is to make him your friend.
Right.
So if you
Give them what you have.
give him what you have, then
It's no longer an
it's no
enemy.
longer an enemy.
That's a really different way of thinking in our Western culture. Not how we're taught to think. Anything else come up around the first half? Okay, second part. O God, my whole purpose here and my whole desire is to remember you. My whole purpose in the world to come is to meet you. That's what I can do on my side. Now please do with me as you wish. O God, my whole purpose here and my whole desire is to remember you. My whole purpose in the world to come is to meet you. That's what I can do on my side. Now please do with me as you wish. Michael?
That illustrates complete surrender out of love.
Complete surrender out of love. That's a lifelong letting go, yeah, a lifelong lesson, something to work on.
It's a statement of deep trust and faith.
Statement of deep trust and faith. Chris?
It's a very Sufi devotional. That,
Yes.
That wanting the divine beloved more than anything, or solely.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very reminiscent of Sufi teachings, although this is not from that particular tradition, but it certainly sounds like it. Anything else that comes up? Nice quiet space to close in prayer. So let's join in sacred practice right now. Let my words be affirmations of truth in your life. There is always and forever one divine presence, one essence, one substance, one source from which all of creation is born. This one goes by many names. Great Spirit, Holy One, Infinite Presence, Ground of all being, Abba, God. And yet, by whatever name we call it, it is the very presence of life unfolding. I am so grateful to know that each and every one of us is an intentional expression of the divine, perfect in all of our human imperfection, intended to be exactly as we are, even in all of our messiness. Because the truth is that Spirit knows no imperfection. It knows only beauty and joy and peace. It knows only freedom and justice and love and light. So each of us comes fully equipped with these spiritual qualities already present and available, should we choose to access them. They are factory equipment. In this holy moment, I look to the teachings of the desert. I allow myself to be transformed by the presence within. I choose to trust the process, to consciously place my faith in divine order and timing. I remind myself that my order and timing is one narrow perspective. And so I open myself to the all that is. In the moments when I feel empty or lost or isolated, when I feel challenged or face barriers or obstacles, I remember that the presence is always with me. I can never be alone. Infinite wisdom, the still small voice, whatever you refer to that inner knowing as, that is always available. So I move into quiet reflection. I remember the lesson of rising and falling, that this is the way of things, that in every life there are ups and downs, times of joy and sadness, easy times and challenging times. That every fall offers me the opportunity to rise again. In time, wholeness is revealed. Clarity returns. Gradually and with practice, the thoughts and behaviors that do not serve simply melt away, as long as I'm not grasping on to keep them present. I'm at peace. My faith is renewed. I'm humbled by the powerful presence of the One, and I'm empowered by the knowing that this powerful presence lives in, through, and as me. I am awake to my own divinity, and so grateful for my growing awareness. So grateful for this space, for each one sharing this space this morning. I give thanks for all of the volunteers that are assisting in our movement into our new home, the thousands of blessings that grace each one of our lives every day. Thank you, Spirit, for this day and for this amazing life. And in closing this morning, I know and fully accept the graceful unfolding of my word in form and experience, as a prayer spoken is a prayer answered. And so I release it now to the power and presence, simply letting it be. And so it is. Amen. Aho. Yeah, the desert. Fun place to go. Bren says, nope.
5 years on and off.
Never going back, never going back.
As long as you're on a horse with no name.
As long as you're on a horse with no name, you'll be fine.
And bring your water.
And bring your water bottle. Okay, so I invite you to join in the celebration of the work we're doing this morning by sharing with us from your worldly treasures in support of that work that we're doing. If you're at home, you can go to our website, mysticheart.org, and you'll find a donate button, you'll find a mailing address. We also have a gracious giving program for anyone who would like to make a monthly contribution that we can count on as we shift into our new home. And as we receive your gifts today, please take in the wisdom offered by this next song. This is a band, Bombargo. I wasn't familiar with them. I hope you enjoy it. It's called Let It Grow.
This song that we're going to play is called Let It Grow. And this is the first song that Spenny and I ever finished together when we had this crazy idea to start a band. And Let It Grow is all about letting the good things inside of you grow and planting them like a seed and putting some water on it with your friends and your family and your intentions and your passions and your love. And recognizing that in this world, every single big tree started as a little seed. And no matter how crazy and big your idea might feel, that it is essential to take that first step with the tiniest of seeds. And that's where this band all started. And a lot of people thought that we were crazy, and they said, you can't have this awesome band from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. You're not gonna just travel around the country and go to the United States of America and come play the Sugar Shack sessions here with all these beautiful people. You're not gonna be able to do that. But I say this, the craziest people, they live the craziest lives, all right? So whatever you're dreaming about, make sure you don't get in your own way and let it grow. And I've got soul, and I'm gonna do what I got to do to make my heart stay true and whole. And ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. 1, 2, 3, let it grow from the top of your own head to the bottom of your toes. Let it grow, then you bring them good vibes home, then you roll out like a stone. Come on, so yeah. And I feel like a man on a mission, utilizing my precious time. And I've got fire, with my mind set on greatness and the wisdom to use it right. And I've got love, and this whole heart will just keep on thumping till them stars I blow above. And ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. 1, 2, 3, let it grow from the top of your own head to the bottom of your toes. Let it grow, then you bring them good vibes home and you roll on like a stone. Now come on, so yeah, bring it down just a little now. Can you feel it from the top of your head right on down to the bottom of your toes? The 2 fingers in the air and just snap with me. 2 fingers in the air, no care, no head. all of ya. 1, 2, 3, let it grow. From the top of your own head to the bottom of your toes. Let it grow. Then you'll bring them good vibes home, and you roll out like a stone. Let it grow. From the top of your own head to the bottom of your toes. Oh, let it grow. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
That was awesome.
I was amazed at the variety of pants they were all wearing.
Yes.
And the courage to wear them.
They could carry not one liquid, could they?
Exactly. Exactly. And I love that whole notion of not caring one lick what anybody else thinks, and allowing themselves to be who they are. So I give thanks for that. I also give thanks for all of you who share your time, your talents, your treasures, and for those that have been working diligently and with great effort in our new space. It's becoming beautifully arranged and decorated and organized through these efforts. I give thanks for these dollars today, knowing that these are tools to be used in service to the one who gets it done. And we will be good stewards of this money. And so I give thanks, and so it is. Amen.
All right. Off we go.
Rock and roll jumper.